And I'm talking today to Stephen Shellen, who was a very successful Hollywood actor before he became a targeted individual. And he's been through a lot. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get into a little bit about the kind of systematic harassment. I mean, this was really dark, and it was very vague, so it was kind of put him in a situation where, you know, if he tried to come out and tell anybody about it, the ones doing it had done it in such a way that it would just make him look crazy if he tried to say things. Everybody knows you can't get into someone's safety deposit box. You can't do a lot of the things, or they're just so weird. But Stephen, I wanted to make sure that you can mention that about the targeted individuals, like how big this is, and that there's actually a hearing about this with the Bioethics Commission in Washington on May 15th and 16th.
Oh no, there was one in Washington with the Bioethics Commission, which has to do a lot with. I don't complain of this, and I've probably been exposed to it, but unless something's tangible, I don't really. It's hard enough for anyone to get their head around what happened to me. You know, it's so much easier just to assume that I'm some crazy, artist that like invented a story. So I don't go to the electromagnetic. I don't generally talk about that, but it's absolutely there, and I have lots of reasons to believe that it's been part of my problem as well. But the one in Washington dealt, not primarily, but it dealt with harassment, like me, street theater, that kind of stuff, but also it primarily dealt with electromagnetic weapons, and there was a hearing at the Bioethics Commission in Washington. There's a link. There's a guy that's proven he's got implants. His name, I believe, is Wahlberg, James Wahlberg. He's actually setting a precedent by proving that this stuff is going on. It's huge for people in our world because it means, you know, the very courts that you're trying to get to listen to you, they're already against you. It's like, I equate it with being, let's say I'm Jewish and I'm in Nazi Germany during the Second World War, and it's like running to the Nazis saying, God, please help me. They're trying to kill me. Well,
that's like what happened to you when you went to the Children's Aid Society and tried to tell them.
I'm going to the enemy to ask for help. So going to the Bioethics Commission, it brings awareness. That's what's good. But as far as it's for Obama, it's supposed to be for President Obama to look at, to hear about this. They know they're doing this. Are you kidding me? Like, you know how you hear the CIA and different agencies are involved and have been involved since the Vietnam War, probably before, in drugs. And they've got all this black ops, billions of dollars of money. Well, what do you think they're spending those billions of dollars on? They're spending it on experimentation like what's been done to me. And believe me, the amount of money they must have spent on my harassment, it's in the millions, man. I mean, they couldn't have done this on a shoestring budget or a bunch of, like, angry bikers. No. This is huge. This is COINTELPRO.
Steve, I got to bring something up.
They've got all this money that they make from, covert activity, and they're spending it on experimentation. So they know what they're doing. But what's great about the Bioethics Commission is there's a link online. You can see that these 20 people or whatever testified. And there's another hearing being scheduled for New York City, I believe, on, I think it's May 15th and 16th, again, a bioethics committee.
Steve, can you hear me? I want to bring something up, okay, because it's really important. Because a big thing of what they did was to try to ruin your credibility. And in the skit that we put up on YouTube, that we made together, we played drug addicts, okay? Yeah. And you played drug addicts in the movies. But what happened is that they tried to portray you as a drug addict in real life and then make it look like, you're some crazy drug addict. And that's why some people would think maybe you lost everything you had because you were a drug addict. Let's make it clear that you were not a drug addict.
I am not a drug addict. I've never been a drug addict.
Right.
I've done
just
some
want to
silly,
make that clear that
things.
That's not why you lost everything. Had nothing to do with drugs.
I'll just give the audience one. This is just one simple example, but I think it resonates anyway with people when they start to understand this is the kind of stuff. The following and all that crap, yeah, absolutely. License plates, matching license plates, same people, off the freeway, same cars, same people, even though I'm hiding out. That's all GPS tracking. That's relatively easy to do. Here's how they attack your head, for example. You're staying someplace, and you get locks and double padlocks, and you're already somewhat paranoid. You've had your children stolen. Everyone thinks you're a drug addict, or they think you're mentally ill. So you're hiding out, and I went and I bought a motion detector. So if anyone came in, the motion detector would go off. Well, the motion detector's turned off. But here's a good example. You try on your favorite jacket to go out. The jacket feels very, very tight. You don't understand. You look at the jacket, it looks the same. You look at the lining of the jacket, it is almost the same. It looks a little bit brighter color than the actual lining, but maybe it's just your imagination, so you don't know what to think. But the jacket is two sizes small. So, of course, well, for me anyway, of course, I go and I weigh myself. Well, I've actually lost weight. I have not put weight on, so there's no reason for my jacket to be smaller. What they did, and the only reason I can say this is because other people have complained of the same thing. It's one of their systematic mind games they play. They'll break in wherever you are. They will alter your clothes so that when you put your clothes on, they don't fit. Now, if I told someone, which I was really careful of, because they already think you're crazy. So you're sort of like, it's like being in a prison. You're handcuffed. You're not if you tell someone, hey man, they're coming in my place and they're altering my clothes to mess with my head.
No, they're going to think you're crazy.
My friends at the time thought of me. What do you think people would think? So you're all alone in this crazy game of them harassing you. And that's just one little example. The safety box break-ins is better because it's more tangible, right? Mm-hmm. They broke in my safety boxes, or I went with my girlfriend to a bank at Bloor and Bay in Toronto where I'd got a safety box after all this stuff happened. All I had in the safety box was records from the Hague Convention, court reports, police reports, letters from my ex-wife, and the only thing that was, I go to the bank with my girlfriend, and my safety box has miraculously, it's just not listed to me. No, it's actually disappeared. How does someone disappear a safety box from a bank? And she says, well, have you got a key? Yes, I have my key here. Oh, well, do you have a receipt? Actually, I pull out my wallet. I do have an actual receipt that I'm paid up to date on this safety box. Oh, I've never heard of such a thing. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. And, of course, the woman working behind the safety box section of the bank, and this becomes normal, she loses her job or gets transferred. People just start evaporating.
Steve, it's not some... I wanted to make sure that we could talk a little bit. I know that this stuff, like you said, it sounds totally crazy. It's hard for people to believe, and that's actually the reaction some people are having in the chat room, that this guy has completely lost it. But no, you actually haven't lost it. I know you in real life. You're together. You're very, very talented, productive artist, and you absolutely have not lost it. This stuff really happened to you. You also have witnesses to that. But also with your ex-wife, there was an aspect where you suspected ritual abuse, and there was an example that you gave me about her trying to drown kittens in front of your children.
Yeah.
I wanted to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, sorry, I'm hypersensitive when people start saying, oh, he's nuts. It's like, you know what?
Well, they're probably just saying that to, like, push your buttons, too, you know?
Good luck, because if it happened to me, it can happen to anyone. I looked out a window at my farm that I had, and I had my 2 children and my ex-wife, my wife at the time. So I see a little tiny 8-week-old kitten. Someone had rented my farm at one point when we were back in L.A., and they put an aquarium in my farmhouse. I don't have snakes, I don't have rats, and I don't have fish. So I stuck the aquarium outside, and it was about 6 feet out from where this outdoor carport was. And there was rainwater because it was spring and the water had melted, and there was water in this aquarium, about half full of water, and the aquarium stood about 6 feet up in the air. Or the top of the aquarium was about 6 feet high. Anyway, I look out the window and I see this 8-week-old kitten. Now, all the cats prior to this that we had on the farm, when I'd go to L.A. and come back to this farm I had outside of Toronto, all our cats had disappeared. That seemed logical. Okay, fine. They ran away or got eaten by coyotes or whatever. But I see this kitten in the aquarium, and it's drowning. Its belly's completely huge. And I start banging on the window. Look at the kitten, look at the kitten. So my wife at the time, she begrudgingly takes the kitten. My kids are staring at this aquarium. She takes the kitten out of the aquarium, and then she walks towards the farmhouse, and outside of the tack room farmhouse is this concrete slab. And about waist level, she just drops the kitten. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? She goes, it's dead anyway. So I scream for her to get me towels, and I sit with the kitten, and I nurse the kitten back, to life, and I save the kitten's life. It lives. At the time, it was like, wow, I guess that kitten must have somehow jumped into, it's beyond your comprehension. You try to rationalize things, just like we've tried to rationalize events like, I don't know, World Trade Center, even the day it happened. I mean, people try to rationalize this stuff away because the reality is too hard. The mind can't compute it. We're not conditioned that way. We're supposed to believe this box called a TV and this stuff called news. So it wasn't until years later when I went back and revisited my farm that I'd sold with my girlfriend, and we saw the aquarium, and I explained where it was situated, and it's like, wow, there's no way that kitten could have fallen in the aquarium. That kitten was put in that aquarium from my ex-wife because my children were too small to reach up. And then you read up on ritual abuse, and killing animals is one of the first things they start with young children, and then the children are encouraged eventually to kill their brother, sister, or friends, and it's all part of, I say ritual abuse. Other people will say satanic ritual abuse, but for me, the whole Satanism thing, which is very real with ritual abuse, I think it's just another way they use to program children is, Satan or whatever. Whether it's all satanic, I don't believe it's all satanic. It's ritual abuse as far as I'm concerned. But ritual abuse, there's so many indications. I don't really have time to go into all of them, but absolutely my ex-wife was a multiple a personality with programming in her and a generational ritual abuse family and a political family in France. And so I have to live day in and day out knowing that my children, more than likely have the programming has continued with them. And anyone listening, it's like you got to check out ritual abuse. It's not just torture of children. Of course it's that, but what you're doing when you torture a young 2-3-year-old child, you create altars. And you can program a child, especially now with virtual headsets and whatnot, you can program a young child like you can program a damn computer. So you can create all these triggers. Has anyone seen Manchurian Candidate? I mean, these stories are not just random, stories or some creative guy made this up. No, this stuff is based, and having lived in Hollywood, I promise you people, this stuff is not just random creative people making it. This stuff is done with design. Manchurian Candidate is not just a fluke. I saw an interview with the director who I'd met, who I really liked, Jonathan Demme. Whether he's part of the programming or not, I don't think he is. I actually really liked him. I almost did a film with him. I got beat up by Ray Liotta, and I told him later, you know what? You made a better choice hiring Ray than me. But Jonathan Demme was on the Charlie Rose show with Denzel Washington, And they were asking him about, what was it? Was it Manchurian Candidate that he directed, Kim? Anyway, they were asking him, well, why would you make him film like this or whatever? And Jonathan Demme alluded to something like, well, no, there's a nefarious group of people. This is based on truth, and there's a nefarious group of people. And he named the Carlyle group and different, groups, that this is very real. And Charlie Rose was just about, like, choking himself, like, trying to, begging for a commercial and Denzel Washington, even